The topic is solving linear equations in one variable. The objectives in this topic are solve linear equations using the addition and multiplication properties, solve linear equations containing parentheses, write numerical sentences as equations. So let's solve this. 7x plus 12 equals 3x minus 4. From what we know, we would start by getting rid of parentheses. We don't have any parentheses. Then we would combine like terms on the left. We don't have any like terms on the left. Then we would combine like terms on the right. We don't have any like terms on the right. Okay, well then we would make sure all of our x's are on one side and everything else is on the other side. So I'm going to start by subtracting 12 from both sides. That'll get rid of the non-variable terms from the left. Negative 4 minus 12 is negative 16. So 7x equals 3x minus 16. Now I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. That'll get rid of the variable terms from the right side. 7x minus 3x is 4x. So 4x equals negative 16. On the right-hand side, the 3x minus 3x canceled each other out. Now we have 4x equals negative 16. We want to undo multiplying by 4. We do that with dividing by 4. Divide both sides by 4 to keep everything balanced. Negative 16 divided by positive 4 is negative 4. X equals negative 4. Feel free to take that solution, plug it into the original equation, and check to make sure that we're right. Next up, 40 minus 5y plus 5 equals negative 2y minus 10 minus 4y. We have no parentheses to get rid of, but we can simplify both sides of the equation. We have like terms on the left and we have like terms on the right. So on the left, 40 plus 5 is 45. On the right, 2y minus 4y is negative 6y. So we have 45 minus 5y equals negative 6y minus 10. I'd like to get the variable terms on one side, the non-variable terms on the other. There is no correct or incorrect order that we have here. We can do it in any order. We can start by adding 6y to both sides, or we can start by adding 5y to both sides, or we can start by subtracting 45 from both sides, or we can start by adding 10 to both sides. Any of those are proper first moves at this point. We're going to start by adding 6y to both sides. This is a nice first move because it gets rid of the y's from the right. It'll add it on to the left, and it'll do it in a manner that keeps them positive. On the right, negative 6y plus 6y cancel each other out, leaving us with negative 10. On the left, negative 5 of them plus 6 of them is 1 of them. 45 plus 1y, 45 plus y, equals negative 10. Now, since we've established our y's on the left, let's get rid of that positive 45 by subtracting 45 from both sides. That will leave us with just the y on the left, and on the right, negative 10 minus 45 is negative 55. Y equals negative 55. I leave the check to you if you want to. Okay. They're getting harder. 6 times a minus 5 equals 4a plus 4. We have parentheses. We want to get rid of them first, so apply the distributive property. Distribute that 6. 6 times a is 6a. 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. So 6a minus 30 equals 4a plus 4. We need to pick a first move in getting the a's on one side and everything else on the other. Let's subtract 4a from both sides. On the left, that's 6a minus 4a is 2a minus 30. On the right, we're just left with plus 4, positive 4. Now we've established our a's on the left. Let's get rid of the minus 30. We do that with plus 30. Whatever we do on one side, we do on the other. 2a equals 34. We're almost done. We want to get the a by itself. We need to undo multiplying by 2. We do that with dividing by 2 on both sides. 34 divided by 2 is 17. So our final answer is a equals 17. So what have we seen? We've seen that the steps for solving an equation are, if parentheses are present, use the distributive property. Get rid of those parentheses. Then combine any like terms on each side of the equation. Combine like terms on the left, combine like terms on the right. Then use the addition property of equality to rewrite the equation so that variable terms are on one side and constant terms are on the other side. It doesn't matter which is which. You can put your variable terms on the right side or on the left side. I like to move them to whichever side they're going to remain positive, because that's one less step to take care of at the end. Finally, we divide both sides by the coefficient of the variable to get it by itself. And then if you want, check your answer, but make sure you're checking it in the original equation. So once again, let's apply that to this problem. 4 times the quantity x plus 3 plus 1 equals 13. Let's start by getting rid of the parentheses. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times positive 3 is positive 12. That's 4x plus 12. We stop distributing when the parentheses end, so it's just plus 1. Equals 13. Combine like terms on the left. 12 plus 1 is 13. Let's subtract 13 from both sides, getting the 4x by itself. 4x equals 0. Divide both sides by the coefficient of x to get the x by itself. Divide both sides by 4. X equals 0 over 4, which is just 0. Recently, we looked back over our words for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Let's look at our keywords or phrases again for the equal sign. Equals, as in 3 equals 2 plus 1. Gives, as in the quotient of 10 and negative 5 gives negative 2. Is or was, as in 17 minus 12 is 5. Yields, as in 11 plus 2 yields 13. Amounts to, as in twice negative 15 amounts to negative 30. and is equal to, as in 24 is equal to 2 times 12, 2 times negative 12. And in symbols, it's just a direct translation. So let's translate some sentences into equations, not expressions. These ones have equal signs. These are equations. The product of 7 and 6 is 42. The product is the multiplication of 7 and 6. 7 times 6 is 42 equals 42. 7 times 6 equals 42. Twice the sum of 3 and 5 is equal to 16. Well, twice the sum is 2 times the sum. The sum of what? 3 and 5. So 3 plus 5, 2 times that. The 3 plus 5 must be in parentheses with a 2 on the outside. Is equal to 16, equals 16. And that's it for this topic. The topic is solving linear equations in one variable and problem solving. The objectives in this topic: write sentences as equations and use problem solving steps to solve problems. We're going to rely heavily on our old friends, the words that mean addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Let's review writing expressions. We're using x to represent a number, so 8 increased by a number would be 8 plus x. It could also be x plus 8. With our addition words, order doesn't matter. B, the quotient of a number and 7. Well, with division words, the order does matter. So this is a number divided by 7, x divided by 7. We could express that using the division bar or the division symbol. And C, the sum of 10 and twice a number. The sum of means we're adding two things. The two things that we're adding are 10 and twice a number. 10 and 2x. 10 plus 2x. If we throw equality into the mix, if we throw the equal sign in there, then they're no longer expressions, they are equations. Equations are expression equals expression. 8 increased by a number is 12. 8 plus x equals 12. Twice a number equals negative 12. That's 2 times x, and then equals, and then negative 12. 2x equals negative 12. The quotient of twice a number and 12 is equal to 15. The quotient of means we're dividing. The two things we're dividing are twice a number and 12 in that order. So 2x divided by 12 equals 15. Let's introduce the problem-solving steps. Step 1 is understand the problem. During this step, you'll become comfortable with the problem. And some ways of doing this are reading and rereading the problem, constructing a drawing, maybe propose a solution and check. But pay careful attention to how you check the proposed solution because it will help when writing an equation to model the problem. That's right. Checking a guess is not solving a problem. You'll choose a variable to represent the unknown, and you'll use this variable to represent any other unknowns. So once you understand the problem and once you've picked a variable, you'll translate the problem into an equation. Then you'll solve that equation and you'll interpret your results. You'll check your proposed solution and state your conclusion. An example. In this case, the problem type is finding an unknown number. Twice a number plus 3 is the same as the number minus 6. So this isn't too bad. We've been building up to this for some time now. Twice a number. Well, let's let x be a number. Twice a number would be 2x. Plus 3. 2x plus 3 is the same as equals the number minus 6, x minus 6. So we've picked x as our variable. When we read the problem, we then translated it into mathematical symbols. We've done this much before. And given things like this, we've solved before. Now we're combining that. We're not only translating, we're going to solve our translation to actually find the number. So get rid of parentheses. We don't have any. Combine like terms on the left. We don't have any. Combine like terms on the right. We don't have any. Okay, then start moving things around so the x's are on one side and everything else is on the other. I'm going to subtract x from both sides. That removes it from the right. And then on the left, 2x minus x is 1x, just x. X plus 3 equals negative 6. Now to get that x by itself, we need to undo adding 3. We do that with its opposite, subtracting 3. Minus 3 on the left, minus 3 on the right. Negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. So x equals negative 9. Let's plug that back in. Twice a number. 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. Plus 3, that would be negative 15. So negative 15 is the same as the number minus 6. Negative 9 minus 6 is negative 15. That's a true statement. Our solution is valid. The number is negative 9. The distance by road from Chicago, Illinois to Los Angeles, California is 1,091 miles more than the distance from Chicago to Boston, Massachusetts. If the total of these two distances is 3,017 miles, find the distance from Chicago to Boston. So the problem says find the distance from Chicago to Boston. Let's let x be that unknown distance from Chicago to Boston. We're told that the distance from Chicago to LA is 1,091 miles more than the distance from Chicago to Boston. So 1,091 more than x. X plus 1,091. We'll let that be the distance from Chicago to Los Angeles. We're told that the total of the two distances is 3,017 miles. So the distance from Chicago to Boston plus the distance from Chicago to LA would be the total miles. So x plus 1,091 has to be 3,017. That's our translation. That's what we've understood. Now it's time to solve our equation. Combine like terms on the left. X plus x is 2x. Let's get the 2x by itself, so subtract 1,091 from both sides. That gives us 2x equals 1,926. Divide both sides by 2, we get x equals 963. We want to check the proposed solution in the problem, 963. If you check 963, it does check, and I'll leave that to you to verify. We can state the distance from Chicago to Boston is 963 miles. Finally, a woman's $57,000 estate is to be divided so that her husband receives twice as much as her son. How much will each receive? Well, if the husband receives twice as much as the son, and the son is unknown, let's let our unknown X be the son. And if the husband receives twice that much, that means that 2X is the husband. The total amount received is going to be 57,000. So X plus 2X is 57,000. That means that 3X is 57,000, and dividing both sides by 3, we get that X is 19,000. X was the son, so the son receives 19,000, and the husband receives twice that, 38,000. Feel free to check that the numbers make sense in the problem, and they do. And that's it for this topic. You were given the number 692 and you were asked to write it in expanded form. The answer would be 600 plus 90 plus 2. So that's number 1. Number 2. In number 2, we were given the number 85,117, and we were asked to round to the nearest 100. So you need to know your place values: ones, tens, hundreds. The number to the right is a 1. That means we do not round up. Everything past our place value turns into zeros. So the correct answer was 85,100. Number 3. Given a long sequence of numbers vertically to add: 2 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 5. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 5 is 11, plus 6 is 17, plus 5 is 22. You can also see that these are both 10. 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 2 is 22. Okay, number 4, 962 plus 449. 9 plus 2 is 11, carry the 1. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 1 is 11, carry the 1. 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 4 is 14, 1,411. Number 5, we have 864 plus 654. 864 plus 654. 4 plus 4 is 8. 6 plus 5 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus 8 is 9. Plus 6 is 15. 1,518. Number 6. We're going to subtract, and we're reminded that we can check by adding. 91 minus 49. 1 minus 9, can't do it. Borrow from that 9, it becomes an 8. That turns this 1 into an 11. 11 minus 9 is 2. 8 minus 4 is 4. 42. If you wanted to check by adding, you'd go 42 plus 49. 9 plus 2 is 11. 8 plus 1 is 9. There's the 91 we started with. We know we are correct. Number 7. 6030 minus 2,791. 0 minus 1, can't do it. Borrow. 3 becomes a 2, 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. 2 minus 9, can't do it. Borrow, we have to go over the 0. 6 becomes a 5, skipped over 0 becomes a 9, 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 9 is 3. 9 minus 7 is 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3,239. Number 8. 80,000 minus 37,284. Zero minus 4, can't do it. We got to borrow. We got to skip over all these zeros. We're borrowing from that 8, which becomes a 7. Skipped over zeros become 9s, and the 0 we started with that we borrowed for becomes a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 8 is 1. 9 minus 2 is 7. 9 minus 7 is 2. 7 minus 3 is 4. 42,716. Number 9. 73 times 9. 9 times 3 is 27, carry the 2. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 2 is 65. 657. Number 10. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 8 is 48. Carry the 4. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 4 is 10. 0 times everything is 0. So put in a placeholder 0 and move on. 4 times everything. We're done with that. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 3 is 7. Done with that. Finally, 2 times everything. 2 times 1 under the 2 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 8 is 16. Carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. Add them up. 6, 6, 12, carry the 1. 6 and 1 is 7. 3 plus 2 is 5. 7 plus 6 is 13. Carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. Put some commas in. This is 4,357,266. Number 11. Now, in number 11, we have 4 times 6,000. There are a few ways you can go here. You can use the trick, which is what's intended here. You can see that you have a number that ends in 3 zeros, so you could ignore that for now. Just do 4 times 6 is 24, and then add those 3 zeros on. 24,000. Number 12. We move into division. We have 228 divided by 8. Well, what do we do? Well, box it up. 228 divided by 8. 8 does not go into 2. 8 does go into 22. How many times? Well, it's Price is Right rules, remember. It's as much as you can get without going over. You go over, you lose. 24, too much. 16, all we can fit in. So it's 8 times 2. 8 goes into 22 2 times. Around the corner, 2 times 8 is 16. We subtract. 2 minus 6 can't do it. Borrow, 2 becomes a 1. This 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. 1 minus 1 is nothing. We have the 6. We bring down the 8, and we do it again. 8 goes into 68 how many times? Well, we know 8 times 8 is 64. That's pretty darn close. And 8 times 9 would be too much. 72 goes over. So it goes in 8 times. 8 times 8 around the corner is 64. Subtract, and we have 4. Now we do know how to find the remainder with decimals. We would put in a 0.0 and we would keep going. But this particular problem, we can see the answers that we were given were in R form for the remainder, which tells us that we want R4, remainder 4. 28, remainder 4. Number 13. In 13, we have 4, 8, 5, 7 divided by 18. What do we do? 48, 57 divided by 18. Okay, 18 does not go into 4. 18 does go into 48. How many times? Well, 18 times 2 would be 36. Can I get a third one in there? What's 18 times 3? 4, carry the 2, 54, too much. So it only goes in twice, and around the corner, 2 times 18 is 36. Eight minus 6 is 2, 4 minus 3 is 1. Bring down the 5. 18 into 125, how many times? So let me walk you through my thought process here. 18 is about 20. 20 would go into 105 times and go into 126 times. So I'm going to try 6 and I'm going to try 7. That should narrow it down for me. If you don't think it through like that, then you could always do 18 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 all the way up through times 9 and then just look. 6 times 8 is 48, carry the 4. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 4, 108. That's close. Maybe it will go in 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56. Carry the 5. 7 times 1 is 7. Plus 5 is 12. 126, just a little bit too much. So it's going to go in 6 times. Multiplying around the corner, 6 times 18 is 108. And when we subtract, can't do 5 minus 8, so we borrow. 2 becomes a 1. 15 becomes, or 5 becomes a 15. 15 minus 8 is 7. 1 minus nothing is 1. 17 left over, which makes sense. 17 out of 18. The one that would be remaining to take us to 18 is the one that we went over. Why we couldn't get it in 7 times. Bring down this final 7, 177. Now I'm going to run out of space down here, but you'll keep going. 18 goes into 177 how many times? So again, here's my thought process. 18 times 10 would be 180. That's just over this. So it should definitely be 18 times 9. Biggest option. 2, carry the 7, 162. So it'll go in 9 times. Put that in. 9 times 18, we found to be 162. And then we subtract. And you can't see what I'm writing down here, but 7 minus 2 is 5. 7 minus 6 is 1. So you get 15, and that's our remainder. 269, remainder 15. So what's that look like? It looks like this. And there was nothing else to bring down, so it was our remainder. Number 14 asks us to find the perimeter. And we know that the perimeter means distance around. The perimeter of a rectangle, we add all the sides. This is what we're given, but we know that means there's another 47 here and another 53 here. So if we're adding up all the sides, we would have 53 plus 47 plus 53 plus 47. 53 plus 47 plus 53 plus 47. Add the sides. Look at these numbers I gave you. Look at them. They're beautiful. 53 plus 47 is 100. So this is 100 and this is 100. 100 plus 100 is 200 meters. $200 meters. Number 15. A camera that sells regularly. Boy, does this sound familiar. A camera that sells regularly for $370 is discounted by $69 in a sale. What is the sale price? A camera that sells regularly for $370 is discounted by $69. 301 is the sale price. And you probably did that in your head because you're a shopper. You shop. And you know that 70 minus 69 is 1. So $69 off, 370, 301. What's the work? It's a subtraction problem. 0 minus 9, can't do it. Borrow, 7 becomes a 6, 0 becomes a 1, 10 minus 9 is 1, 6 minus 6 is nothing, 3 minus nothing is 3. $301. A store orders 13 cases of action figures. Each contains 104 action figures. How many action figures did the store order? And this is multiplication. Because if each box has 104 action figures and there's 13 boxes, cases, then that's 104 13 times. We'd be adding up 104 a total of 13 times. That's repeated addition. That's multiplication. 3 times 4 is 12. Carry the 1. 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 is 1. 2, 5, 3, 1. 1,352 action figures. That just happened to be right there, so I just circled figures. But it's multiplication. Okay, enough word problems. Let's get back to fun stuff. Write using exponential notation 8 times 8 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. How many factors of 8 do we have? 2. How many factors of 5 do we have? 4. 8 squared times 5 to the 4th. That's it. Number 18, we're going to go the other way. We're going to get something in exponential notation, like 3 times 4 cubed. And we're going to evaluate. We're going to multiply it out. So 4 cubed would be 4 times 4 times 4, 3 factors of 4. You can multiply this any way you want. You can go 3 times 4 is 12. Bring the rest down. 12 times 4 is 48. And then 48 times 4, 16 plus 3 is 19. So that's 192. You get 192 that way. Or if you want to use that thing I showed you when you have 4 factors, you can go 3 times 4 is 12, and then 4 times 4 is 16, and then you can do 12 times 16. I get 192 that way. Or if you wanted to do the 4 cubed, is 16 times 4 is 64, and then do 64 times 3. Guess what you get? 192. So no matter how you multiply these factors together, you're going to get the correct answer, the only correct answer. of 192. And that's because when it's all multiplication, we can multiply in any order, just like we can add in any order. That doesn't carry through to subtraction and division. And when we have mixed operations, we can't get away from the specific order of operations, like in number 19. We're going to have to use PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And it's 4 steps. Parentheses, any grouping symbols, exponents, multiplication and division in the same step left to right as we come to it, addition and subtraction in the same step left to right as we come to it. And we're doing 6 times 7 plus 5 times 19. We have no parentheses, we have no exponents, so multiply and divide from left to right as we come to it. Right off the bat at the beginning, we have a multiplication problem. So 6 times 7 is 42, bring the rest down, plus 5 times 19. Do we do this next? Do we do 42 plus 5? No. And if you got the answer 1368, that means that is what you did. And you get no credit for that, because this problem is about the order of operations, and at no point during order of operations should you be doing addition before multiplication. So 5 times 19. That's not from our multiplication table, like 6 times 7, so we need to work it out. 5 times 9 is 45, carry the 4. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. So 42 plus 95 is our final step. 2 plus 5 is 7, 4 plus 9 is 13. 137 is the only correct answer. We are continuing the review. We're given 2 numbers, in this case, -7 and -8. And we're asked to put in less than or greater than, whatever's going to make the statement true. Let me zoom in a little bit here. There we go. Now, +7 would be less than +8, but that does not mean that this would be less than. In fact, if we think about the number line, there's 0. Down a ways, we would have -7, and -8 would actually fall to the left of -7, because over here we have 7 and then 8. The negative side of the number line is a mirror image of the positive side. So yes, 7 would be less than 8, but -8 would be less than -7. Being to the left on the number line is defined as being less than. And that means that -7 is actually greater than -8. So greater than. Because -7 is to the right of -8. We're given integers, but they use the opposite. They use the absolute value. They use exponents. And we're asked to put them in order from least to greatest. Now, these are the opposite of -2, 5 squared, -12,
the opposite of the absolute value of -6 and the absolute value of -13. So 5 values. Let's go ahead and simplify each. And then once they're completely simplified, we can put them in order from least to greatest. The opposite of -2 would be +2. 5 squared means 5 times 5, which would be 25. -12, there's nothing to do there. It's just -12. The opposite of the absolute value of -6 would be the opposite, and the absolute value of -6 is +6. The opposite of +6 is -6. And then the absolute value of -13 would be +13. So the smallest number we have here is not -6, it's -12. On a number line, it would be farthest to the left. So -12 would be first, and that number was just -12. Next would be -6, and it was given as the opposite of the absolute value of -6. So notice when I'm putting them in order, I'm using the original way it was given. The other 3 are positive numbers, so the next smallest would be 2, which was given as the opposite of -2. Next would be 13, which was given as the absolute value of -13. And then finally, the largest number would be 25, and that was given as 5 squared. So from least to greatest, -12, the opposite of the absolute value of -6, the opposite of -2, the absolute value of -13, and 5 squared. We have -160 plus -270. When dealing with negative numbers, there are 2 ways to think of this problem. The way it's given is probably easiest here. We are adding 2 numbers that have the same sign. And when we add 2 numbers with the same sign, our answer keeps that sign. So here, since this is 2 negatives added together, the answer is negative. And then we treat them as if they were positive numbers. We take the absolute value and add them up. So 270 plus 160 is 430. So the answer to this problem is -430. The other way to do this is to combine plus minus, adding a negative into just subtraction, and then think -160 minus 270, or starting at -160 and moving to the left another 270 units. And that's why we get pushed down to -430. Thinking of it this way is supposed to help you remember that you can add 160 plus 270 and get your negative answer, because you're starting on a number line at -160 and you're subtracting. we have 5 minus 30. So again, you could think about the number line. And if we're at positive 5 and we are subtracting 30, it's going to move us into the negative numbers. The first 5 takes us to 0, and that leaves 25 more to go. We're going to end up at negative 25. The other way to do it is to write it as an addition problem. 5 minus 30 is the same as 5 plus negative 30. Here we're adding two numbers with different signs. When we add two numbers with different signs, we subtract the absolute values. 30 minus 5 is 25. And then which of these is bigger? 30 is bigger. Look at 30. Was 30 originally positive or negative? 30 was originally negative. That means our answer will be negative 25. Negative 6 minus negative 20. When we see minus a negative, we turn it into plus. Minus a negative becomes plus. So this is negative 6 plus 20. Three ways to think about this one. The new way we haven't looked at yet that we can use here is that negative 6 plus 20, if we leave the plus in place and switch the two numbers, the 20 goes over here, the negative 6 goes over here. Plus a negative is just minus, and 20 minus 6 is 14, positive 14. You could also think about the number line. Once you make negative 6 plus 20, if we start at negative 6 and add 20, move to the right 20, 6 takes us to 0, which leaves 14 to go. And we wind up at positive 14. Or, of course, the addition rule. We are adding two numbers with different signs. So subtract the two numbers. 20 minus 6 gives us 14. The larger number is 20. 20 was originally positive, so our answer is positive 14. We have negative 4 times negative 2 minus 26 all over negative 1 times, in parentheses, negative 4 minus 5. When we have a fraction bar like this, we treat it as two problems. Work through the top as much as possible, work through the bottom as much as possible, and then in the final step, divide top by bottom. If it doesn't divide, we would reduce the fraction. So on the top, We have multiplication. We have subtraction. Order of operations says that we do multiplication or division first, from left to right as we come to it. So -4 times -2. Now remember, multiplication and division rules for signed numbers are a lot easier than addition and subtraction. For multiplication and division, if they have the same sign, the answer is positive. If they have different signs, the answer is negative. -4 times -2 is going to be positive 8. So that's 8 minus 26 on top. And then 8 minus 26 is the same as 8 plus -26. Adding two numbers with different signs, so subtract the numbers. Different is subtract. 26 minus 8 is 18. The larger number is 26. 26 was originally negative, so our answer is negative. -18. That's as far as we can take the top for now. On the bottom, this is not addition or subtraction. This is multiplication. -1 times the thing in parentheses. Order of operations says we do parentheses first. So inside the parentheses, -4 minus 5. That's how I like to think about it. That tells me we're starting at -4 on the number line, and we're moving left 5. That puts us at -9. The other way to think about this, -4 minus 5 is -4 plus -5. Adding two numbers with the same sign, so our answer has that sign, negative. Since it's the same side, we add the numbers. 4 plus 5 is 9. -9. So this is not -1 minus 9. This is -1 times this whole thing. -1 times -9. And it's the same sign, so our answer is positive. -1 times -9 is positive 9. Finally, negative divided by positive. Same rules for multiplication. Same sign plus, different sign negative. These are different signs. Negative divided by positive is negative. 18 divided by 9 is 2. So the answer is -2. Says find the product of -1/4 and 3/8. From earlier in the course, remember that product means multiply. So this is saying multiply -1/4 times positive 3/8. First of all, different signs. Negative times positive is negative. 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 8 is 32. The answer is -3 30-seconds. Had it said quotient, that would be divide. Sum means plus. Difference means minus. We want to evaluate 7x plus 2 over 2y when x equals 4 and y equals -5. Plug in 4 for x. Plug in -5 for y. Order of operations on top. Multiplication comes before addition. 7 times 4 is 28. 28 plus 2 is 30. On the bottom, this is 2 times -5. That's -10. 30, positive 30, divided by -10 is -3. We want to simplify. 5 times the quantity 3z plus 1 minus z minus 22. Distribute the 5. Has to be multiplied by both terms. 5 times 3z is 15z. 5 times 1 is positive 5. Minus z minus 22. 15z minus 1z is positive 14z. Positive 5 minus 22 is -17. So 14z minus 17 is the answer.